sure?
Oh god, okay. Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Analytical Fanboys. I am your host, Simeon the Vacuuminator Scott, and I am joined as always by my co-host, the Hellbent, Chris Wright Gaston. Hi there.
Alright, I guess that's the adjective for the day. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
There's no beating around the bush here. This week, we are discussing one of, to me, the greatest review series of all time. It's highly influential to me and probably a lot of other people. If you go back and look at some of my stuff back when I was doing analysis and even some of my newer toy review stuff, you can see the influence of this in it. It's very important to me, and the message of it is very important to me, at least what I perceive to be the message of it to me, because this is one of those things where I do not pretend to get this. I have had takes on this. I get a different take every time I watch it, and this time I'm just going to come at it from the perspective I had from this watch through. We are discussing the Horseshoe Saga, what is widely considered to be and reported by he himself to be the greatest work created by Endless Jess, or the Footwear Man, or Drowning in Footwear, or Drowning in Horseshoes, or the Horseshoe Man, or the Horseshoe King, or any of the other numerous names he has gone by. In this, I'm probably just going to default refer to him as Jess, because that's what I've been doing for like the last few years. So, Chris, it was your first time listening to this, and or first time watching this, I should say. And hey, there's the first fuck up.
No. The first fuck up is us living, and the second fuck up is trying to do a podcast in the first place. This is the third fuck up.
That's true. However, as a reminder, this is going in Jess's Discord server because I'm in there.
Oh, you're gonna
How'd you like this?
First things first, you're gonna have to tell me if I fucking piss anybody off, and if I do, brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, I want to mention I never have seen a second of My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic.
I didn't know that. I thought you'd seen like an episode or two.
Nope, none whatsoever.
That's fascinating.
So I came into this going like, oh shit, I'm only going to get like 10% of what he's talking about, because 90% of it's just going to be doodly-doodly-doo of a show I have never seen. And I'm pleasantly surprised that was only about like 50% of it. I say this is probably one of the best postmodern examples of reviewing a review style while doing the style in a Ouroboros of absurdist hot takes.
That's pretty good. I mean, I can't speak to what Jess is going to think of this, because he's very defensive of his shit, and if I offend you at all in this, sir, if you're listening, I apologize, but
I don't.
I did not expect you to get that close to the way I feel about it.
Yeah, no, it's very much, when it first starts, he very plays it straight, except for the very first episode where he basically does a Tim and Eric Andre show sketch. Yeah,
Cult of Personality with Cult Corona is kind of a prequel / prototype, I would say.
And if I may also say, I am so thankful for all the wrestling references, because it was kind of like a lightning rod and the sea of pony for me to go.
Go ahead. Sorry.
For me to kind of go like, okay, I get what he's talking about more specifically, and specifically when he started talking about wrestling character development, which, for all of its faults, I like, because it's fun and big and cartoonish and mythic in that respect. But like, it has its place, and he's basically going like, this ain't its place.
And Jess is a huge wrestling fan. That's why all of this is in there. He's been watching wrestling since he was a little boy.
Yeah, but speaking of the wrestling, the whole time the Horseman Minotaur character was being on screen, and he was going Colt Corona. I was just going, is that a Colt Cabana reference? Is his name just a reference to Colt Cabana? Part of me feels like that's a thing, but also I don't want to assume that's a thing because like close, but not enough.
Okay, so on the Procrastinators, we're just going to dive straight into this kind of shit. Okay. On the Procrastinators YouTube channel, there's like a 3-hour interview with Jess that Digi did, just asking him about his life and about shit with his videos. And at one point, Jess says that originally in Horseshoe Finale, when he does the pipe bomb thing and he says, maybe I'll go back to the real world, and he turns to the camera and says, hi, Vegeta, how you doing? That was originally going to be, hi, Colt Corona, how are you doing?
Okay, so it's not a one-to-one, but it is like how bullshit like JoJo references rock music. It's not directly supposed to be like, this is metaphorical. It's just more like a naming convention. Okay.
Yeah. Also, the thing I've been trying to hit at for the last minute since you brought up wrestling. So, I was gonna wait until a little later into the discussion to drop this, but since you already brought up the wrestling stuff in this is my introduction to wrestling, actually seeing some wrestling stuff, and this is the genesis of me getting into wrestling.
That's fucking weird.
Because I'll tell you very quickly, I'll run down how I came across this. So, to make a long story short, there was a brief period of time where I was a brony. I did call myself a brony for a little bit. Literally just because I had heard about bronies so much. One day I was just kind of like, I'm going to look on YouTube and see if there's like any actual video reviews by bronies. I'm going to try and see if like there's someone who can explain to me what the appeal of this is. And I found Tommy Oliver, and I watched some of his videos. Then I found Digi, and I watched some of his videos. And this was like season 3, I think, was when this was going on. Then, when they eventually exited the fandom and went on to do the Procrastinators, then I found T-Bap and Gibbon, and I started watching I went back and watched all their stuff. Then I found Jess, I'm sorry, and I watched his Endless Jess stuff and his footwear stuff, and then because they talked about it like this big mythical thing, the Horseshoe Saga, and I was a little afraid of it. The Horseshoe Saga was the last thing I watched by any of them that I hadn't watched yet. And it was kind of like a huge revelation the first time I watched it.
I mean, it does act kind of like a essentially season finale for an aspect of the fandom that just got sick of it. Again, not trying to attribute to the author, but like there's that kind of feeling of like, this is the last nail in the coffin. Bye-bye. See you on your way out. Don't let the door hit you.
Yeah, it's kind of that, and it's also very much a meditation on the nature of these things. Like that's one of the things I got out of it this time around was this is about My Little Pony friendship is magic, but really it could be about any fandom because every fandom has this side.
And we've been talking
all dangerous.
And luckily this came up as it did because we've been talking about this not even just in our podcasts, but in just our conversation of like, we have just gotten tired of people bitching and moaning and wrestling and Star Wars and Pokemon and so many goddamn things. It's just like I've been saying to you, and maybe I said in a podcast, we just need to understand that you don't have to walk through the gate. You don't have to be a fan of it. You can like a thing. You can like a episode of Star Wars. You can like a thing. You don't have to like the whole goddamn thing and then make yourself miserable because you're banging the head against the wall going like, I don't like this part. Well, don't fucking watch it.
there's getting invested in a thing, and then there's obsessing over it. And I think too many fandoms are focused on being obsessed about it. Whereas, and I don't want to put words in his mouth again, but the read I got this time watching it was that Jess was invested in My Little Pony, and he still was after he made this. He kept watching it, and he kept talking about it, but he only did it in Patreon exclusive videos because it wasn't in those videos weren't in continuity with this. It was just him going, "Hey, I'm still watching the show. I still like it. Here's what happened this week."
Yeah, and I think we can like go for the rest of the podcast without saying I don't want to put words in his mouth, but just going. We're talking death of the author. We're assuming,
and that's a thing I want to just drop real quick. He is a person who vehemently does not believe in death of the author.
Oh no, I don't believe in total death of the author too. I'm just saying, as a analytical technique, we're using it in part right now.
Mm-hmm.
I much more like the idea of less will and testament of the author. Yes, your interpretation is very valid, but if the author has a thing to say about the work, that must be respected and understood.
Mm-hmm. Very much so.
Do you get what I'm saying? Like the fandom, like a person's interpretation of a work is valid, but if the author says, "Yeah, but that's nothing what I was talking about," it kind of puts a giant hole in whatever you're thinking. You can still think it. You can still use it as an interpretation, but it's not the interpretation.
And he did a video that was kind of like that, called Horseshoe Finale 1 year later. I have not watched it in a good while, and I did not rewatch it for this just specifically because I didn't want to be sitting here the whole time going, "It's cute that you think that, Chris, but actually this is what he intended."
Oh yeah, no, and I didn't watch it either because it wasn't in the playlist you sent me.
Yeah, so, I sent, for anyone wondering, I sent him the Steeb playlist because Steeb also did essentially a short form review saying like, this is what this thing is, this is the mindset you should go into it with.
Yeah, and I didn't watch that either. I just watched the playlist as it was, as was created at the time of probably the finale of it, so that's all the content there was.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going off of that text. There's a lot of interesting things within that text. And that when you first said, "Oh, this was very influential to me," and all that kind of stuff, I was going like, "Okay, is this going to be some weird abstraction of thought, something along the lines of like, for lack of a better way of describing, like Matt Hardy doing the Broken Saga stuff, or truly trying to be a weird absurdist thing like Filthy Frank near the end of the Pink Guy stuff, and all that, and all the absurd surreality of it all, that kind of thing, or like Jobby the Hong and his big tentpole content kind of thing. Is it going to be like this intensely metaphorical, allegorical kind of thing? And then when I was watching it, I was like, oh no, it's much more of a, for lack of a better way in describing it, it's what's the word? It's not modus operandi, it's manifesto.
Yeah. Yes, I was trying to think of it too.
Manifesto, that's the word I was trying. It's a manifesto of simultaneously creation in and of itself, but also criticism of creation, how to look at creation, and basically a little summation of how he could come to that conclusion given what he has presented within the context of his writings, but also through the context of another form of storytelling to basically turn it all around and prove several different points at once, but also use it as a storytelling framing device.
Mm-hmm. And it's also kind of an autobiographical look at what it's like to be a creative person. Because, like, some of those moments, like the part at the end of Magical Mystery Cure, this time around really got me, where he's just sitting on top of that pile of trash and random bullshit, laughing like a madman because he can't escape the same stuff he's been doing over and over again, and the struggle just won't end. That got me in a place, because this is the first time I've watched the whole thing since I gave up on doing media analysis and storylines. And part of the reason, like, there's a lot of reasons why I did that, but part of the reason I did that was because I kept trying to achieve something on the level of this. And I homage this quite a few times in my old analysis videos, like fucking the final part of Megaforce Sucks is basically this, but through the lens of fuck current Power Rangers. And I just couldn't get there, and I kind of realized that, and I was like, I'm pushing myself to be something I'm not, and I'm essentially just sitting in the pile of trash laughing now. It's time to get up and go somewhere else.
Yeah. There's also an irony in the fact that he does get out, but there part of the thematic element, the theme running throughout a lot of it is that he got into this and has now gotten over in and over his head and feels like there's not a way out. And he kind of talks about the franchise itself in that way later on when he's talking about just the shit with the fucking like person shit.
The live action versus doing the stuff with the OC.
No. The when he's talking about the Barbie dolls. How Hasbro just wants to milk the franchise kind of thing.
Oh, yes. That was something I was going to bring up. Like, this guy is such an incredible wordsmith that he comes up with stuff that just sticks in your head for hours and hours. Like, one of my favorites, and I'm pretty sure this is what you're talking about, the repulsive decadence of Hasbro.
Yeah. But he was talking about, like, Hasbro just using this as a cash cow and just making money because they want to and all that kind of stuff. But also, while in other parts talking about, yeah, I'm doing this because you are paying me to do it.
Yeah.
There is a level of, I don't want to do this anymore, but it's my source of income.
Mm-hmm.
Which there's a level of irony there. Which I think is somewhat acknowledged in the final, but not necessarily, like, put a bow on, if you get what I'm saying.
Well, it's very interesting how, like, and he paints himself as a very, and he flat out says in the credits of the finale that he's inspired by CM Punk. He paints himself as a very CM Punk-like figure, like, pointing out all the bullshit and hypocrisy and all the dirty little secrets of the genre he's a part of that nobody else will admit. And since I know you weren't a part of this scene and you probably don't care to look into any of the other My Little Pony shit, I'll just say he was pretty much vindicated as time went on. Like, all the people he name dropped and said, like, these people, from what I can tell, these people actually hate their fans too. They're just not saying it. Eventually they did say it. Eventually there was a point where Tommy Oliver said, fuck this, I'm never talking about ponies again. I hate this fandom. I'm going to go do other shit. I'm not even going to do YouTube anymore. When the show recently ended, for the few reviewers who were still left, there was this huge air of, well, now what? And I only know that because I stopped watching after season 5. Not necessarily because I thought the show got bad, just because I was like, I think I'm done with this now. I don't need any more My Little Pony, thanks. But after I heard the finale had aired, I went and looked into what people's thoughts were on it, and it was kind of incredible to see just this overwhelming air of, well, shit, what are we going to do now?
Yeah, that's the problem with wrapping up your identity in in that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Like it's good branding to say, I love X franchise and only X franchise, and I make tons of videos about X franchise. But what happens when the day comes that you exhaust that topic?
Yeah, that's partially why I so vehemently, when I first started, really kind of started making videos, and a couple people were like, "Oh, you make Toku videos?" I was like, "No, I make videos, and sometimes I talk about Toku." Because I know damn well I don't want to ever fucking just talk about one bullshit thing.
Yeah. Oh, you make toy videos? Yeah. You talk about Transformers? Yeah. Anything else? Yeah, everything else. Anything else I'm interested in, I have toys for it. I'll talk about it. Yes, I'll come back to Transformers quite regularly, but that's not the only thing.
And that's also another weird little fascinating thing. It's not necessarily anything about the video, but it was more about like his interpretation of Hasbro, which again, soulless company in capitalist America, profit driven. There is no heart there, but coming from it as a person who's really good friends with a diehard Transformer fan who loves a lot of what they're doing recently, and as a person who kind of enjoys a lot of their franchises like G.I. Joe, like Transformers, like Power Rangers now, and like the Marvel Legends toy line, it's very fascinating to see a person who's genuinely vitriolic about Hasbro again.
Yeah, it like nowadays when I'm very critical of them right now, but I like a lot of what they're doing right now, and they're kind of my go-to company for if there's going to be toys of this, it should be these people. It was very refreshing to hear somebody point out how fucking scary they can be sometimes, especially because, and this is something else he talks about in the series, I'm in an echo chamber right now of people who like Transformers and like Hasbro and think it's all fine and hunky-dory, and that was an unintentional thing on my part, but again, I'm glad I watched this again now so I can be aware of that and hopefully course correct on it a little bit.
Yeah. Corporations are not your friends because they just want your money. And that's a thing I won't say I'm disappointed in, but I was like kind of going like, is he going to take that step and talk about it? Because he was going like, show's going in weird directions because they don't care because Hasbro and toys and all these kind of things.
The original creator's gone.
And all that kind of stuff. And I was like going, all right, is he going to start actually talking about how a lot of it's just profit driven and bring up capitalism as a major fault of the fact that creation can't be done for creation's sake? Mm-hmm. He didn't go there. He hinted, and I don't want to speak of his politics because he never went fully into like economic models or anything like that. It was very much the artistic idea and the politics within the show itself.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think we should really go in there, but I was thinking, oh man, it'd be cool if he brought that up.
I want to say he eventually had intentions of talking about that kind of stuff because the channel was originally called Drowning in Horseshoes, but it was rebranded, I want to say 6 months after the saga ended, to Manchild Inc. And he started doing like this parody, I'm a sellout now channel. And he hasn't really done anything with that in a long time. So I want to say he was going in that direction, but I don't know for sure.
But again, it's not necessarily something I'm disappointed in. It's just like, it felt like it was a thing I thought he might have been going in, but he didn't. And it's like, oh, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
But like I say, that's the direction I would go in. Just like, yeah, the thing you love is being ruined because they just want to make money and not make a show. That kind of thing.
So we've been beating around the bush for about 20 minutes here. You want to talk about autism?
Ooh, autism.
Because I'm sure that was the one thing I was always hesitant about. I've put this on and taken it off of the list a ton of times because I know there's some... I hate using this term, but it's the only way I can put it in simple terms. There's some very extreme, very challenging humor in this related to stuff like that, and I didn't know if you would be okay with it or not.
Here's the thing. I wouldn't say it's done tastefully, but it's not done vindictively.
It's made as clear as you possibly can that it's a joke. His tongue is planted very firmly in cheek, but also it's completely in service of the narrative.
But also, there's elements of, like, he's saying it's understandable why a group of people who have these kind of symptoms would be gravitated to something like this. It's understandable. I understand it. Just use this thing as a way to help you get better. He's said that a couple of times and saying, like, pay attention. This can help you. In his gruffer way of, like, this is the thing you should understand. Like, this is the thing you deal with. That kind of thing. But when he finally started getting onto the point of, like, you guys are fucking idiots, you just want to hear your opinions validated, all that kind of thing in the final, he never brings up the fact that it's because you're autistic. It's because you're shitty people.
It's more just like, this is the culture that YouTube and fandoms on YouTube creates. And I like how it's never really fuck autistic people. It's never really fuck bronies. It's more so fuck this kind of internet tribalistic mentality that we have unintentionally created through the medium of doing online reviews.
Through feeling like brands are your personality.
Mm-hmm.
Brands aren't your personality. Products aren't personhood. It's a thing you can enjoy, but it's not you. That kind of thing. And it is basically a whole giant stop this. But what I appreciate is he brought up autism several times and saying, like, hey, it's a thing. But he never once said the fandom was bad because of autistic tendencies, which I think is the big line in the sand that makes me feel like it's a better interpretation. There are some things that I feel like personally, I wouldn't tread that water just because it's like, I've seen one too many people who are autistic but aren't like that specifically. That's just kind of
Yeah.
Especially because I don't know about him or anything like that, but like I'm ADHD and that has a lot of similar symptoms to Asperger's and autism and that side of the spectrum. So I have a lot of empathy for people on the spectrum. I sympathize with them a lot and I get what they're going through a lot. So I understood where he was coming from, and it feels not necessarily ignorant or anything like that. It was just more of like simplified for the sake of making a point and less simplified because that's his complete worldview.
Yeah.
If you get what I'm saying.
And it's also very interesting getting back to the whole brands are not your identity thing. I think that's also he does a very good job of making an example of how not to be that, how he as a person does not want to be that throughout the series. Like, I forget when he first uses it, but there's that clip of him, I'm assuming very drunk, when he's in his room and he looks at like just a shelf of books and he's like, this is all crap. I don't need this. Fuck this. And he tosses it on the floor, which, yes, did inspire me fucking up my shelves in Megaforce Sucks Part 9. And he...
Hey. Good artists are inspired. Great artists steal.
Yeah. And
I stole that from Steve Jobs.
And he later talks about how he's made friends through doing the reviewing thing. He's found other people who did this, and he influenced them to do different stuff. And he likes their stuff so much, and they all kind of, not at the same time, but sort of one after the other, left the fandom around this time to go do other stuff. Like, as he talks about in the review, Gibbon became a video game reviewer. Now he's off doing animation stuff in the real world. Tommy Oliver tried to start a tech channel. Now he's doing a bunch of random freelance video game developer stuff. I'm not exactly I haven't looked into what he's been doing in a while, so I'm not exactly sure. Digi went and became arguably the biggest anime YouTuber, and I haven't kept up with him in a while, so I don't know where he's at now. Fucking Cake changed his name to Best Guy Ever and became a Bangarang YouTube channel. Phantom Horns became Ben Saint, and he's doing Bomber Comics. All these people went off and did better shit, and Jess went off and started Endless Jess and did all sorts of interesting stuff. And then he took it one step further, where right now my understanding of where he's at in life is almost a year ago now, he got kicked out of his house and he just said, fuck it, I'm putting all my stuff in a storage unit and I'm going to get in my car and I'm just going to drive around and go visit cool people until I get tired of that. I'm going to live in the real world and I'll post a video to Patreon occasionally for the people who still really care about me. And that's what it's like in his Discord server now. We're all just kind of hanging out, talking about stuff we like, occasionally talking about his videos, and occasionally he pops in to go, oh, hey, you guys are talking about that thing? I like that thing too. Or, oh, you're talking about that thing? That thing's fucking stupid.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting atmosphere. I like being in there.
Sounds interesting. From this video, I get the feeling that I wouldn't want to hang out with him every day, but I wouldn't be pissed having a dinner with him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he's one of those people where, and again, if you're listening, sir, we do a wrestling podcast. If you ever want to guest
fucking
host,
plug our shit. What the fuck are you?
I'm just saying, he would be a great personality to have on for an episode.
I'm not saying no, but I'm just saying, like, bruh, is now the time? After we just spent like several minutes fucking fellatioing his content?
I would argue that's the best time, but that's also the YouTuber in me. Somebody get that demon out of me.
Hey, I know how to get that demon out of you. Like and subscribe this video.
Oh, God, we're just doing it now. We're just doing it now. It's all downhill from here, folks. Tune out.
Can't be downhill from here. We haven't been sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends.
All the memes. All of the memes.
Fucker, this is Metal Gear Solid. It's meme, gene, scene.
Metal Gear.
Old man ass. That was the theme of the fourth game, right?
Definitely. I don't know much about Metal Gear. Anyways, back to this. Oh God, I had a talking point and then I forgot it.
Ha. I laugh at you.
Go
on. I believe in you.
There.
I believe in you.
So, how quickly did you pick up on the fact that it was a pro wrestling storyline?
I didn't pick up on it mainly because I was just trying to observe it for what it was. But it was more like, because I wasn't, for lack of a better way, I wasn't invested in what he was saying. I was observing it as I was Uwatu watching Spider-Man try and save this thing. I was just going like, yes, I am observing. But once he laid it out, I was like, oh yeah, no, I get it. That totally makes sense. It lines up.
See, the first time through, I didn't know. I knew like next to nothing about wrestling, so it took him explaining it for me to get it. Last time I watched it, because I've watched this around 5 times, I want to say. Last time I watched it, I was kind of dipping my toes into wrestling. That was when I was just becoming a fan, so I kind of got it quicker. This time, I don't want to say for sure, because there's always a chance you miss something. I feel like I got all the wrestling references this time around, and I was super proud of myself for that.
There's a ton of references.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of things like that. trying to think of other things, because he does present it in a very, very good way, and it's not narratively.
It's hard to talk about because it speaks for itself so well.
That, but also it verges on the line of like absurdist. This is going to probably sound like one of the most pretentious things I will ever say. And I say this as a person who was a theater student. It's almost like absurdist. Oh boy. Absurdist postmodern memoir critique. Is that the right way? Is that what I'm trying to describe? Let me break it down in terms. Like, it's very
I was going to say.
It's very much a focal point on him and his involvement within a group, but it is done in a way that is very much a heightened version of what that, I don't want to say internal conflict, but very much that very general analytical thought that can be very dry on a piece of paper. He presents it in a way that's very much more Kurt Vonnegut-esque. It's much more of like idea through story, but the story is not important.
Yeah.
If you get what I'm saying. It's like
him and Colt Corona can kill each other 1,000 times. It doesn't matter. That's not the point.
Yeah.
Except when it is.
But he can portray a character, but he's not portraying a character. He's using the aspects of portraying a character to get a point across, and not in the, this character represents this within a story in a metaphorical sense. It's just more of like, no, he's just dressed like that because it gets the idea of narrative across, but without using narrative.
Mm-hmm. Like, I'm sure there are people, I should say, use your tenses correctly, folks, who look at Horseshoe Finale and go, how did that take a year to make? Or over a year, just slightly over a year, I think it was. It's pretty clear if you're paying attention to all those different setups he has and the outfits he's wearing. Like, that's not just a background you throw together in an afternoon. Like, I have a background I threw together in an afternoon on my channel right now, and I'm fine with that. I'm not trying to go for anything better than that right now. But all the different setups, or I should just say sets he has in Horseshoe Finale, look like he spent a week thinking about what he needs to have on screen for the thing he's talking about in this section of the video.
Like the very deliberate placement of CM Punk posters.
Mm-hmm.
When he's doing certain things. It's very deliberate, but it's also like I can see it taking that while, just writing, refining, proofreading, all that kind of jazz, and then
picking out the clips from his old channel,
and then editing, and then all of that. Like, I can understand it. Like, of course, it only took me like a second to get to the next video, so I can understand why people would be frustrated.
And there's also the fact that, again, this is a guy who has a real life, or had a real life that, in the narrative of the videos, I'm not sure how true it was to his actual life, slowly disappeared and got eaten away by his existence as a YouTuber. But he would go away for a while at a time to be with his friends, and that's perfectly fine. Like, this is the kind of thing that started getting the idea. Like, I don't want to say this is responsible for the entire way I look at YouTube now, but it informs a lot of it. Like, this is one of the things that planted the seed in my head of like, oh, all videos take time to make. It's okay if things take a while. You shouldn't have to make an update video saying, hi, sorry, I haven't made a video in a little while. Here's the progress I've made on the video I am working on. It's coming soon. That's just wasting people's time.
It's wasting your time. That's time you could have been done using the thing of things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that kind of bullshit. But yeah, this was a very fascinating little YouTube series.
And
where,
unlike anything, well, no, because Spawn Year is kind of this way, but Spawn Year didn't have as much story crammed into it as this does.
And Spawn Year was also very much more about the mindset of reading a thing and getting burnt out on that thing specifically. This is very much more about being into a thing and getting burnt out on the other people who are in the thing, kind of basically making the thing worse by proxy.
Yeah, and this is also the point I was going for, is this is very definitively something with a beginning, a middle, and an end. There's a lot of tangents and like side paths in there, but it has a thing it's going for, and it gets there without wasting very much time. Like, those tangents are there, but they don't feel like wasted time when you get to the end of it. It all feels like it's playing to a grand master plan.
Like a rich tapestry.
Yep. And it's quite good, and I like it, and I have different thoughts on it every time I watch it, and I'm never going to be sure what his original intention was, and quite honestly, I'm perfectly okay with that.
Yep. There's only one thing I would like to say as like a tiny niggling complaint.
Okay.
And it's just that he said he put so much effort into so many things, and then he just makes one of the laziest jokes I think can ever be made, is just Hitler. Hitler's here, that's the joke. And it's like, come on, you can tell a better Hitler joke than that.
That's fair, but I found the bluntness of it funny.
Yeah, but like I'm used to that kind of bluntness with Hitler jokes. It's just like, come on. If you're gonna tell you can tell a really damn good Hitler joke. Just look at the producers. Look at Taika Waititi and Jojo Rabbit.
I guess that's fair.
And that's why I'm saying it's a niggling. It's not like it's a tiny like nitpick.
It's a nitpick at best.
It's a nitpick because it's what, twice in the entire 36 video saga.
Mm-hmm.
That
took us an entire week to watch. Like, I don't know about you, but I only have the stuff I watch every week for what we did this week.
I watched one other thing, but we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
In fact, I finished it today, so. But yeah, no, it's a niggling, like, tiny bullshit, and it's very much like, it's a thing I probably wouldn't bring up if I was talking to him about it. It's just more of like, because he's not here and we're just talking about it as fucking bullshitters. Mm-hmm. I just feel like, that's a thing.
And I just fear this man like I fear the actual devil, so that's why I keep going. If you're listening, I'm sorry.
Hey, I'll say this. Endless Jess, if you're listening, because you probably would appreciate this, I don't fucking care what your opinion is. You made a thing. You enjoyed making it. It's your thing, and you got your point across. And I interpreted it this way. And I will listen to your what you intended, but you're not here to do that, so not much we can do with that.
You know what? Yeah.
There's only so much we can try and like wiggle around figuring out your opinion. That's not the point of this. It was just kind of going like, hey, this is a thing. We're watching it. Yeah.
That's the mood of Analytical Fanboys, I feel like. Is just, this is a thing, and we're watching it, and yeah.
Unless it's Beck, and then it's just shitting on Chris's opinion.
Not my finest hour, I'll admit. God damn it.
I'm joking, bro.
By the way, before we move on to what we've been up to this week, I just want to say that I didn't realize it until this watch through, but because I'm the one who came up with the name for this show, the name of this show is partially inspired by this series. Because it's we're trying to be very high-minded, but we also understand it's easy to slip into hyperbolic being a fan.
Oh yeah, I did that last week when we were talking about Oingo Boingo, and half the shit I said was basically, they're so good. I love Oingo Boingo.
Yeah.
Let me suck Danny Elfman's dick.
Whoa, okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. But yeah, I think that about covers it. So why don't we go ahead and find out what we'll be talking about on the podcast next week?
Let's fucking go down this fucking rabbit hole.
All right, I am entering the list into the random name picker, and it will be...
Please be something fucked up.
Sorry. Every Frame of Painting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another YouTube thing with a not intentional, but a pretty definitive beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah.
And it's much more easily consumable than this.
Oh, hell yeah.
So
this is the thing. This is the thing we had to sit down and go like, okay.
You have to pay attention because you need emotional content. With Every Frame of Painting, it's just kind of like, yeah.
Much in the way I've been describing like how we watch content. You watch it for the aesthetic, you watch it for the narrative, you watch it for this, and you watch for that, and that kind of thing. You watch Every Frame of Painting for the technical.
Mm-hmm.
You watch the Horseshoe Saga for narrative and not narrative, literary.
You
content,
watch it to expand your mind,
literary purposes, and to a certain extent, camp. You watch it to see a man fucking act drunk and destroy shit in his room because
and lose his mind.
There's a little catharsis in there.
Mm-hmm. It's that attitude of, and again, another thing I got from him, the attitude of, if you're gonna do something crazy in your videos, do it for real. Don't fake it with After Effects. You're gonna throw yourself into a table? Throw yourself into a table. You're gonna throw a bunch of shit all over the room and possibly break something? Do that. You're gonna drink a whole bottle of beer, throw it behind you, and have it break? Actually do that.
Cinema Verite. Even though that's nothing what Cinema Verite was.
Okay. So, what you been up to this week, Chris?
Well, because we had a long piece of bullshit to watch, I didn't watch much of anything.
Oh, that's good.
But I did watch the SpongeBob musical that was aired on Nickelodeon.
Oh, I completely forgot about that. How was that?
It's a pretty good Broadway musical. A lot of spectacle. It wasn't very much like super deep thematic elements, but like, it was pretty good.
Yeah, it's a high budget musical for kids.
But it's not necessarily for kids. It's much more like for kids and the people who grew up with SpongeBob and people who kind of want to just get the general heart and feel of SpongeBob, but not necessarily.
It's an all ages thing.
Yeah,
much like My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic.
Like I watched a short clip of the guy who wrote the book for SpongeBob, the script. God damn it, I'm thinking theater terms. And the way he described it was Our Town meets Armageddon meets SpongeBob. So it's very much like that. It's very much kind of like a small town story told through a SpongeBobian lens. Like, there's racism in this play.
Whoa.
Yeah, some of the fish start hating Sandy because she's a land animal.
That's fascinating, especially because Sandy's supposed to be from Texas.
Yeah. And like there's a cult that springs up and starts worshiping Patrick.
That sounds like something they'd actually do in the show.
Oh, here's the thing: the entire musical feels like it would have been a couple episodes of SpongeBob.
Well, like 100%. That's real. That's honestly the best you can hope for.
It feels like a very high budget version of SpongeBob, like with a lot of thought and time put into the storytelling of it, but it does feel like an episode of SpongeBob. Costumes were great. Really fantastic, top notch. I really love Plankton's costume. That's probably my favorite. Set design was fantastic. A lot of found objects to really create that atmosphere and bubbly feel of Bikini Bottom. It was really good. And as a person who kind of went through theater school and then got immediately jaded on the entire possibility of musicals, it was good to have a musical that like actually touched my heart again.
Nice.
Because there was like a goddamn month where all anybody ever fucking played was goddamn Hamilton.
A month? That was like a whole year from my perspective, and I'm not even into theater.
Oh no, it was longer than that, but like you go into the shop and whoever went in there first would always put on music. So I put on music, I put on like alt rock, Foo Fighter-y kind of bullshit. And inevitably, no, I wouldn't play Foo Fighters because I was playing more like genuinely my kind of shit. And I would be there for like 20 minutes and then someone would go, I'm changing this. Like, I was playing the Aquabats, and then my scene teacher came in and was like, what's this Mr. Bungo bullshit? It's the Aquabats. But that kind of thing. But one stage manager, I don't hate him. I don't blame him for this. He was into it, and I'm fine with that. But he would always goddamn play Hamilton, so it was the same goddamn 20-some-odd song, just over and over and over and over and over again.
So it was like working retail.
Oh, very much so. But here's the thing. I was also in a very sweaty Florida environment building goddamn sets. Luckily, no one was there at night, so I built all my shit at night.
Nice.
And I just played Liturgy, which is a transcendental black metal band. Which I found out has a new album, and I listened to the first song, and I was like, yes, give me more, and I need to listen to the rest of the album.
Cool.
But speaking of music, I've just been also diving back in hardcore into Oingo Boingo. So much.
I have thrown quite a few of their songs in my Watch Later playlists of the ones that weren't on that album.
Oingo Boingo, fantastic band. I've been watching a lot of the songs from the Farewell live concert. So it's great. But I did read a good number of comic books.
Oh, let's hear about that.
So let's see. I read Miles Morales: The End, which is like just a one-shot future thing. It was okay.
Yeah, I'm happy they're still keeping The End alive because that was a really cool idea. I almost feel like every comic company that has ongoing superhero stuff should do that. I know they probably won't ever do it, or if they do it, they'll call it something else because they don't want Marvel to sue them. But DC should do a The End subline, in my opinion.
See, for a while they kind of did, but then other people just started adding sequels to The Dark Knight Returns.
Yep.
I read Morbius #3 with the most Spider-Man-ass Spider-Man I have seen in years.
Nice.
Basically, Morbius is monstering out, and he's drinking blood of someone, and Spider-Man comes in and goes like, whoa, what the fuck? Get away from him. And Morbius goes, here's the shit that went wrong. Can you help me? And Spider-Man goes like, yeah, fuck, dude, I'll help. Just stop drinking the guy's blood. And so he helps, and he figures out that Spider-Man blood can help curb the new mutation. And the best thing was like Spider-Man's going like, all right, cool, let's get you back to your regular Morbius self, your standard vampire, and stop all this excess mutation. And Morbius is going like, no, I want to just be human. And Spider-Man's going like, yeah, but can we just get to that so you're calm and you're not worrying about shit, and then we can work on the human shit. So really relatable Spider-Man there. I finally read Cosmic Ghost Rider.
Tell me more. Like, did he have a bike?
Yes.
Oh, good.
With like a fucking Nova core star thing for his front wheel.
So how did you feel about it? Because for once, this is something I've read and you haven't.
I enjoyed it because I like Ghost Rider. I'm a little bit of a fan of Punisher. I'm not like diehard Punisher's the best thing ever kind of person. I like some of the Punisher. Punisher's cool idea, but remember, he's a villain, not a good guy. And I love all the cosmic bullshit. I love dumb cosmic-y bullshit. And this little 5-issue miniseries turned out to be a lot more introspective and talking about a lot more philosophical terms than I expected.
Mm-hmm. That seems to be a trend with Marvel right now of introducing new-ish characters, doing really cool, thoughtful stuff with them, and then they become kind of not a flanderization, but like a more memey version of themselves in the very next thing they're in. Like they did that with Gwenpool, and now they're doing that with this Ghost Rider, because from what I've heard, Ghost Rider Destroys Marvel History, or whatever it's called, isn't bad, it's just very different.
Yeah, because this is very much like dealing with nurture versus nature. What is the idea of fate? What is the idea of self? All that kind of different things through this lens of a war-torn Frank Castle just going like, I have this infinite cosmic power and I feel like I haven't done anything worthwhile kind of thing. And I was also a little bit worried that it was just going to be, oh, he's just Deadpool, but Frank Castle and different. And it's like, oh, no. There's a subtle difference between Wade and Frank in that.
As there should be.
Wade Wilson, Deadpool, is very much fuck everything. I'm just going to fuck everything up. I don't care. It's like, whatever. Fuck it. Frank Castle is very much the idea of, I don't give a shit. Fuck it. There's a subtlety to the difference, because when Frank Castle is being a flippant asshole, it's because he's being a flippant asshole and he just doesn't give a fuck. When Deadpool's being a flipping asshole, he's being a flipping asshole to fucking get a rise out of you. He's being an asshole because it's funny. And that's the difference, and I appreciate that difference. And going from Cosmic Ghost Rider, I did read the first 6 issues of Guardians of the Galaxy where he was a kind of guest background character. Mm-hmm. I thought he'd be in it more. It was an interesting bit of Guardians of the Galaxy. It was fine.
I only know the plot of the first issue of that because a friend of the show, Sid Part 2, explained it to me back when we were doing the monthly comic book roundup.
Yeah. It was fine. There's parts of me, I would have liked to see more Cosmic Ghost Rider. That would have been cool. But I also would have liked to see more Darkhawk. He was in there, but only as a background person. It's like, come on, it's Darkhawk. Give him something to do.
Yeah, he's a cool boy. We like him.
And then I just continued the Cosmic Ghost Rider storyline and just went into Avengers number 22 to 25, where we have the race of the Ghost Riders.
Oh.
Where basically Johnny Blaze puts Frank Castle Ghost Rider into the Death Charger for Reyes, that Ghost Rider, and he starts fucking up and shit, and he goes like, oh shit, I just don't want to be Ghost Rider anymore. Fuck this. It's exercise this thing out of me. And he goes to the Avengers and goes like, can you help me? And it's like, yeah, we'll try and help you. But then he gets summoned to hell, and Johnny Blaze goes like, all right, cool, we're having a race, and whoever wins gets the other person's power and becomes king of hell. And Johnny Blaze is doing it because he feels like he needs to have more power in order to adequately control hell. And it's kind of going in that good man does bad things to do good things kind of path with Johnny Blaze in this. So he helps, and then Frank Castle does shit, and it's like, it's a good storyline. It's good Ghost Rider-y bullshit. That kind of thing. Then I read Immortal Hulk number 29. Just continuing that stuff. It's really good. They made a Daily Motion joke.
Interesting.
Because in Marvel, Roxxon owns basically the equivalent of YouTube, but all their digital servers got destroyed by the Hulk, so they don't have any website presence.
Oh.
So one of the Minotaur's lackeys goes up and goes like, hey, no, there was a live video posted to something motion. And I was like, is that a Daily Motion joke? It felt like a Daily Motion joke. But yeah, Immortal Hulk is really good. Really playing into Harpy's characterization with Bruce Banner. Betty Ross not liking Bruce Banner, but is being really sympathetic and caring about the other Hulks. So it's very interesting dynamic. I read the new G.I. Joe comic 1-4.
Ooh, is this a straight up reboot, or is it still continuing on with that same IDW continuity they've been doing since however long it's been since IDW got the license?
I think it's a reboot because the first issue starts with basically Cobra taking over all of America and America surrendering, and the Joe's going like, all right, I guess we're a resistance force now.
Yeah, that's got to be a reboot, because I was really wondering what they were going to do.
I think it's they separated continuities, and this is one continuity, and they're still doing the traditional G.I. Joe stuff in another comic. Because at the end,
go ahead.
Because at the end they do like previews for other G.I. Joe stuff, and it seems like more traditional Joe. But the big difference on this G.I. Joe is instead of them all being military personnel, every member of the G.I. Joe is a civilian recruit. Yeah, that's interesting. But then I read issues 1-11 of the current Martian Manhunter miniseries that is about to end.
Ooh, tell me how you thought about that, because I've read, I want to say half of it.
I think it's really fucking good.
Yes!
It really dives into Martian Manhunter in a fascinating
Everyone
way.
else I've talked about has said it's way too weird, I don't get it. And I'm like, get on my level.
It's a fucking cop drama about a crooked cop trying to change his way. What's so complicated about that? Just add some weird alien sex.
It's so weird and out there. What are they? It's an alien culture. What do you expect?
It's alien sex. Like, it's not that it's not a complicated concept. They explain all the alien bullshit pretty adequately. Also, they've hinted at a new origin for a different Miss Martian. That's cool. There's a lot of cool stuff in it, and the art's really fantastic and top notch. And I've been playing some games. I've been playing mostly Dragon Quest XI because it's a good JRPG. It's just good. It's top notch, high quality. But that's what I've been doing. So what you been doing, buddy?
Well, I listened to the latest episode of WTF at TFW, which I usually only bring up podcasts if something particularly interesting happened or like there's something I want to comment on. In this, they recorded an episode like slightly before Christmas, and then they recorded one slightly before New Year's, but Vangelis didn't have time to release the before Christmas one before they recorded the before New Year's one. So he just released them as one podcast.
Of course.
It's fucking hilarious how like you think it's going to end and then you look at the audio file and it's got another 2 hours and he goes like, yeah, I bet you're wondering why that says 2 hours. Well, guess what? And then the intro plays again. It's a pretty good prank, bro. Watched a new episode of Doctor Who, which is the second part of the season 12 premiere. I did not like this as much. All my complaints are kind of spoilery, but to put it in kind of a generalized manner, the stuff they were hinting at didn't really go the way I was thinking it was going to go, and it went in a way that kind of reverses some recent things that really makes me go, why are you going back in this direction? And also, you don't care about spoilers for Doctor Who, right?
I don't give a fuck about Doctor Who.
Okay, so at the end of the last episode, it was revealed that the Master is back. There's a new version of the Master. And I really liked this new version of the Master in the last episode because he was in disguise as another character for most of the episode. In this, they bring in a little too much of Dave Sim, I believe, was the actor in the 10th Doctor season. Mm-hmm. They bring in a little too much of the Dave Sim master for my taste. And I don't hate the Dave Sim master like some people. It's just there's things they did with that incarnation that I feel like should stay in that incarnation. For example, they do that, and I was kind of like, but literally End of Time had a whole thing about that was implanted in his head for a specific reason, and it should be gone now. Why is it back? So that was a whole thing. It's not a bad episode. It's just stuff they did I was not a fan of. I'm sure I'll enjoy the next one though. That's the way it is with Doctor Who. Sometimes it's what are you doing? And other times it's like, oh, we're doing good shit. It's that kind of a show. Watched a new episode of Kamen Rider 01. Oh, this was good. Oh, this is how you start off a new year when you're already a few episodes into your show. Just all the shit they're doing with bringing in the new villain, who I presume is going to be the actual main villain of the show. I mean, Kamen Rider has swerved later than this before, so I won't say. But the Kamen Rider Thouser, he basically comes off like a perfectly engineered nemesis for 01, and it's really fascinating to watch them play off each other. I feel like I'm getting a better understanding of the themes of the show just through some of their interactions. I love everything about Thouser aesthetically. Like, his driver is really cool looking. His fucking henshin phrase is great. When the five horns cross, the golden soldier Thouser is born. His weapon is called the Thousand Jacker, and it's essentially a giant, like, jousting spear that he can use to steal other people's powers with.
That sounds like the most obtuse reference to masturbating ever.
Mm-hmm. And because he's the CEO of a rival company, every time there's a graphic for him, in the corner, there's a little register trademark of the name of his company. Like, he's got so much branding, and it's kind of hilarious. Like, after he finishes transforming, his driver literally says, "Presented by Zaya."
That's fucking cheesy corporate aesthetic. My kind of shit.
It's like I said, he feels like a very interesting fusion of what they were doing with Dan Masamune and Dan Kuruto. Which makes sense because it's the same writer, and he's doing similar stuff to what he did in X8, but it's a different spin from a different angle, and I'm enjoying it a whole lot. Also,
did he also write Drive?
No, I think Drive was the same writer as O's and Shinkenger. And I'm gonna put down money right now, since they didn't kill her off in the Christmas episode. I'm pretty sure, because again, same writer as X8, what happened to X8's female supporter? Izu is going to be a writer by the time we're midway through the show, because they keep hinting at her achieving singularity. And one of the big things they just did in this episode is she made a joke for the first time. And it's presented as kind of like a big, oh, what the fuck moment.
Like she's gaining sentience?
Yeah, like Aruto even goes, oh, she's picking up my bad habits. This isn't good.
Or she can become waifu armor like Akiba Ranger.
That could happen. I really hope they don't go that direction. And
I just more wanted to make a joke about Akiba Ranger.
Yeah, Akiba Ranger is good shit. And if she does become a writer, I really hope they don't do the same thing they did with Poppy and Kamen Rider Tsukiyomi. I think that's how you pronounce that name, from Geo, where it's just the suit is just a Kamen Rider armor version of their civilian clothes. Give Izu a unique look when she's a writer. Do something cool with that. Don't cop out. But that was that. That was a good episode of Kamen Rider.
We'll say real quick, Poppy made sense because you think about it, all the rider suits are based off of video game characters. She is her own video game character.
Yeah. And that's why I'm fine with it with Poppy. With Tsukiyomi, Tsukiyomi has a beautiful suit, but when you look at it compared to her in her civilian form, it's like, really, guys? Anyways, I watched Garo Red Requiem, which was the first ever Garo movie, and was the first Garo media in, I believe, 4 years since the original series ended. And it really feels like kind of not a soft reboot, but like a back to basics reminder of what the franchise is supposed to be. It's essentially just Koga and Zaruba roll up into a city and they're like, hey, a super powerful horror has set up shop here. You priests that kind of protect this place, you're coming with us and we're going to stop this thing. It's one of those plots.
We're going to go do the plot of Exorcist.
Yep. I finished my TJ Omega rewatch. Ooh, it's interesting what he's become lately, and it was kind of, there's a video where he talks about like even he doesn't like how random review heavy his channel has gotten, and that was interesting to see. TJ really strikes me, now that I've watched all of his content in one go, which is something I'd never done before with him. He really strikes me as somebody who I'd like to sit down and talk with about being a YouTuber and about being a toy collector. I think he'd have an interesting brain to pick. Not necessarily somebody I want to talk to every week, but somebody who I'd like to talk to for at least a couple good times.
Yeah, so you already have to put up with my bullshit every week, so...
Yeah. Then I watched Free to Delete episode 7.
I need to catch up on those, especially because he's dropping fucking elite hints.
He's not dropping hints. He's pretty much explicitly saying it at this point. And that's also what I said about this last week. That's all you can say about this, is it's just Matt telegraphing as hard as he can, I'm out of WWE when my contract is up. I'm going to AEW. Is he the Exalted One? I don't know. And then I got some toys because, as we discussed last week, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago, I don't remember, mutual friend of ours gave me a Progrise key. So that was because this is how bad my addiction to plastic is, folks. It was the little push I needed to go and finally get
01 Driver,
which comes with... And because I got that, I said, hey, what the heck? Why not just go all the way and get all the basic henshin stuff for the main free riders? So now I have a Shot Riser, which comes with. And then I got the Progrise key holder, which comes with. So that's fun.
That's it for our sound effects section of the podcast.
Yep.
I hope you enjoyed our sound effects section of the podcast.
All fun little noise boxes to mess around with. Not much else to say. It's like if you know what Kamen Rider roleplay stuff is like, you know that what these are going to be. I'll do a review of them eventually. Maybe sooner than later. We'll see. But that's all there is for this episode of Analytical Fanboys. We hope you have enjoyed this, and we hope you will join us again next time when we'll be discussing Every Frame of Painting. If you want to do that, and if you indeed want to see every episode of our podcast as it comes out, well, hey, guess what? There's a handy-dandy thing on YouTube called a subscribe button. Why don't you go ahead and click on that? Click on the bell to enable notifications. If you want to listen to us on the go, there's a folder linked in the video description. Take you to Google Drive. You can download every episode as an MP3, and you can keep up with us and the goings-on with the podcast by following at the Modular Media, on Twitter, and subscribing or following, to r/Modular Media on Reddit. Chris, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you on the internet?
Thankfully, you said it on the internet because I'm not about to fucking dox myself. What the fuck are you talking about? Shit. Gotta fucking do this now. Okay. Oh, man. Hi, I'm Chris, a Boingo writer. I do video editorial bullshit when I actually make videos. They're coming, I swear. You can find me on YouTube, Boingo writer. Link to me is in the description, I think. You edit this bullshit, so I have no idea. Once I'm done talking, I don't think about these podcasts much. If you want to follow me on Twitter and see absolutely nothing because I rarely tweet, Boingo_writer. If you want to see me, you want to follow me on Instagram, despite the fact that I rarely post photos there, Boingo_writer. You can join my Discord server, which is pretty much dead. Link to that is in the description. So happy days.
Hello, everyone. I am the Vacuuminator, and I make toy reviews on YouTube. You can find me at youtube.com/thevacuuminator. You can also keep up with me on the social medias at the Vacuuminator on Twitter and Instagram. And I think that is it. That is everything we need to link. So let's get on out of here, and we'll see you next week. Bye,
That's
folks.
a fucking outro, bro. Why am I turning into Vince Russo? Bro, that's an outro, bro. Swerve him. Fuck him.
Bro, did you know that Horshoe reviews and Drowning in Footwear are the same person, bro? It's all a work, bro. Bro. I'm giving them the bro special, bro. What is this?